What if your greatest talent led to your biggest mistake? This is the story of how one perfect photograph destroyed the trust in a marriage.
I don't really talk about this with anyone. It's not the kind of problem you can just unload on your buddies over a beer. It feels too delicate, too intimate, and if I'm being completely honest, it makes me feel like the villain in my own life story. But the silence has become its own kind of heavy burden. The memory of it all has been living in the quiet, unoccupied spaces of my life for months now, like a low-grade fever that won't break, a constant background hum of regret, and a quiet, simmering resentment that I just can't seem to turn off. It's been eating at me, replaying in my mind on an endless loop, especially in the dead of night when the house is still and the only sound is the gentle breathing of the woman who now feels like a stranger sleeping next to me.
It all started, as these life-altering things so often do, on a perfectly normal, ridiculously happy day. It was late August, the kind of day that feels like the summer's last perfect sigh before the coolness of autumn begins to creep in. We were having one of those big, sprawling family barbecues at my brother-in-law's new house. It was the absolute epitome of a perfect late summer afternoon. The air was thick with that holy trinity of suburban smells, the rich smoke of charcoal from the grill, the clean, green scent of freshly cut grass, and the faint, nostalgic perfume of chlorine from the pool where the kids were splashing. The soundscape was a joyous symphony of familial chaos. Children shrieking with pure, unadulterated delight as they ran through sprinklers, the satisfying thud of a cornhole bag hitting the wooden board, and the easy, overlapping chatter of a family that was truly, deeply comfortable in its own skin. It was loud and messy and gloriously, beautifully alive. And like I always do on these occasions, I brought my camera. For me, photography has never been a job or even a serious side hustle. It's just my thing. It's the way I process the world. It's my way of slowing down time, of finding the hidden pockets of beauty in the most mundane, overlooked moments. It's a way to freeze these fleeting, chaotic blips of life into something still and true and permanent. I've never been interested in posed, perfect portraits where everyone is smiling stiffly at the lens. I love the candid stuff. Those little unguarded flashes of real emotion that people show when they don't think anyone is watching. A thoughtful frown on my dad's face as he reads the paper, a sudden explosive burst of laughter from a cousin, a shared secret glance between two people that says more than 1,000 words ever could. That's the good stuff. In my mind, that's the only stuff that's truly real. My wife, Jenna, used to love this about me. In the early years of our relationship, she was my biggest champion. She was the one who bought me my first decent DSLR camera for my 30th birthday, a beautiful Nikon that felt like a key to a new world. She told me I had a gift for seeing people, for who they really were. She was the one who encouraged me to always have it with me, to capture our life as it happened, in all its messy, imperfect glory. The camera was never a barrier between us. If anything, it felt like a bridge, a way for me to show her and our family how I saw them, full of love, life, and profound, everyday beauty. I have a photo I took of her on our 5th anniversary trip to the coast. She's not looking at me. She's looking out at the ocean, a small, contented smile on her face, the wind catching a few strands of her hair. It's my favorite photo of her because it's so completely her. She loved that photo. She had it framed. So I spent that afternoon at the barbecue doing what I always do, weaving through the happy chaos with my Nikon in hand, the comfortable, familiar weight of it a reassuring presence against my side. I wasn't hunting for anything specific, I was just observing, waiting for those little moments to reveal themselves. I took a bunch of shots that day, painting a picture of our family in pixels. My nephew, his face a modern art masterpiece of ketchup and chocolate ice cream. My father-in-law, blissfully asleep in a lawn chair, his mouth slightly agape, a true picture of post-burger contentment. My own wife, Jenna, caught in the act of rolling her eyes at one of my classic dad jokes, a look of pure, affectionate exasperation on her face. The usual moments that make up the collage of our life, the photos that would one day make us smile and say, "Remember when?" And somewhere in the middle of it all, sometime after the burgers were gone and the sun had started its slow, golden descent towards the horizon, I took a photo of my sister-in-law, Kate.
She was standing near the patio, engaged in a lively conversation with her husband, Tom. He must have said something incredibly funny because she threw her head back in a genuine, uninhibited laugh. It wasn't a polite, restrained chuckle. It was a huge, joyful, open-mouth expression of pure delight that crinkled the corners of her eyes and seemed to light up her entire being. The late afternoon sun, that magical golden hour light that photographers dream of, hit her at just the right angle. It illuminated her face, catching the warm, honey-colored highlights in her hair and creating a soft, ethereal glow around her, separating her from the cluttered background. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated happiness, perfectly framed, perfectly lit. Instinct, honed over years of practice, took over. I raised a camera to my eye, the world falling away as I looked through the viewfinder. I framed the shot, adjusted the focus in a split second, and clicked the shutter. Click. It was over in a fraction of a second. There was no posing, no direction, no filters. Just sunlight, impeccable timing, and a real, raw human emotion. And yeah, it came out kind of stunning. I knew it the moment I looked at the preview on the small LCD screen on the back of the camera. It was one of those rare, perfect shots where all the technical elements, the light, the composition, the focus, and the emotional content align in a way that feels like a small miracle. I didn't think much of it beyond a quiet internal flicker of professional satisfaction. It was a technically excellent photograph that also happened to capture a genuinely great moment of a family member I cared about. A win-win. A few days later, after I had a chance to sort through everything and do some minor color correction, I uploaded all the photos from the barbecue, about 50 or 60 of them, into a private, password-protected online album for the family to see. This was our routine. I didn't single out the photo of Kate. I didn't add a special comment or make a big deal of it. It was just one picture among many, just another tile in the digital mosaic of our happy day together. That Friday night, Jenna and I were on the couch, deep in our usual end-of-week routine. Comfortable silence, a glass of wine for her, a beer for me, and the mindless comfort of some home renovation show we weren't really watching. She was scrolling through the new album on her tablet, smiling to herself and occasionally laughing as she looked at the pictures. "Oh my goodness, look at Dad," she chuckled, turning the screen to show me the photo of him asleep. "I'm sending this to him right now. He's going to have my head for this." But then her laughter stopped abruptly. She went completely, utterly silent. The light from the tablet screen flickered across her face, which had suddenly become a blank, unreadable mask. The easy, comfortable atmosphere in the room, an atmosphere we had spent a decade building, evaporated in an instant. The silence was no longer comfortable. It was heavy, sharp, and full of unspoken things. I waited a beat, then another, the laugh from the TV show sounding unnaturally loud in the sudden stillness. "You okay over there?" I asked, my voice casual, trying to gently coax her out of whatever strange bubble she had just entered. She didn't answer right away, her thumb just frozen on the screen as if it were paralyzed. "This one," she finally said, her voice quiet and strangely flat, devoid of all its usual warmth. "This picture of Kate." "Oh yeah, that one came out great, didn't it?" I said, still hopelessly oblivious, still stuck in my analytical photographer brain. "The lighting was just perfect right then. A real gift from the photo gods." "It's too perfect, Mark," she said, her eyes still locked on the image on the screen, studying it with an intensity that unnerved me. "It's a lot." "What do you mean, a lot? It's just a nice picture of your sister laughing. What's wrong with that?" She finally tore her gaze from the screen and looked at me, and her expression was one I had never seen before in all our years together. It was a deeply wounded, complicated mixture of hurt and a cold rising anger that seemed to emanate from a place I didn't know existed within her. "It makes her look like a model," she said, her voice barely more than a pained whisper. "It makes her look absolutely incredible. And it makes me feel ugly." The word ugly landed like a physical blow in the pit of my stomach. It felt so foreign, so extreme, so utterly out of place in our world coming from her lips. I gently took the tablet from her and looked at the photo again, really looked at it, trying desperately to see it through her eyes. I saw a beautiful woman, yes, but it was her sister. It was Kate, a person we both loved, her face full of life caught in a moment of pure joy. Then I scrolled through the other photos, the ones of Jenna. There was a cute one of her stealing a French fry from my plate, her eyes sparkling with mischief. There was another of us with our arms wrapped around each other, smiling warmly at the camera, a photo my dad had taken. They were nice, happy photos. They were us. They were real. That's crazy, I said, and I know my tone was a little too dismissive, a little too quick to invalidate the depth of the feeling she was clearly experiencing. You're not ugly. You are beautiful. These are all just pictures from a barbecue. They're not meant to be compared. Then delete it, she said, her voice suddenly sharp, brittle, and demanding. I was completely taken aback. Delete it? Why? Kate saw it already. She literally sent me a text message with a string of heart emojis earlier today saying she loved it, that it was the best photo anyone had ever taken of her. I don't care if she loves it. I don't love it. I hate looking at it. It makes me feel invisible, like I'm standing next to that. She gestured at the screen with a look of pure contempt, as if the image had personally wronged her. Please, Mark, for me, just get rid of it.
This is the moment. This is the fork in the road where I took the wrong path, a decision that I would come to regret more than almost any other in my life. I know that now. The easy thing, the kind thing, the smart thing would have been to just delete the photo. It was just pixels on a screen. My wife's feelings, her pain, however irrational I thought it was in that moment, should have been more important than a single image. But something inside me, a stubborn, defensive, prideful part of my personality that I don't particularly like, bristled. It felt like she wasn't just asking me to delete a photo. It felt like she was asking me to validate her deepest, darkest insecurity, to agree with her that the photo was somehow inappropriate, that I had crossed a line. It felt like an attack on my hobby, on my eye, on the one thing that felt purely mine. No, I said, my voice quiet but firm, a wall going up around me. I'm not going to do that. Why not? She asked, her eyes welling up with tears of pure, unadulterated frustration. If it hurts me this much, why won't you just do this one simple thing for me? Because it's a real moment, I argued, my own frustration rising to meet hers, my voice getting louder. It was a beautiful, candid shot, a piece of our family history, and I'm not going to erase it just because you're comparing yourself to your sister. This is not a competition. It was not a photo shoot. It was a family barbecue, and my camera captured a moment of joy. That is it. That is the whole story. But it feels like a competition to me, she cried, her tears now freely streaming down her face, her voice filled with a pain that I was refusing to acknowledge. And it feels like you just made her win. You've never, ever taken a photo like that of me. Not once. Not ever. That's not true, I said automatically, defensively, the words leaving my mouth before I had even considered them, though even as I said them, a cold, sharp sliver of doubt slid into my mind. Had I ever caught her in that same perfect storm of light and emotion? Had I ever created an image of my own wife that was, by objective artistic standards, stunning? The argument raged on for another hour, a circular, painful, and ultimately fruitless dance of her escalating hurt and my deepening defensiveness. It ended, as these fights often do when both people refuse to budge, in a complete and total stalemate. I didn't delete the photo. She went to bed angry and hurt, slamming the bedroom door behind her with a force that seemed to shake the whole apartment. I stayed up on the couch until 2 a.m., the glowing image of my sister-in-law's perfect, joyful laugh mocking me from the tablet screen. I felt defensive, misunderstood, deeply stubborn, and, for the first time in our relationship, a little bit afraid of what I had just broken. Since that night, things between us have been off. The word is wholly inadequate to describe the profound shift in our dynamic. It's like a fine hairline crack has appeared in the foundation of our marriage, and even though we try to ignore it, to walk around it, to pretend it isn't there, we both know it is. We can both feel the cold draft it lets in, the easy intimacy, the unspoken trust, the comfortable telepathic understanding that had always been our bedrock has been replaced by a quiet, watchful, and utterly exhausting tension.
A week later, after days of strained politeness and sleeping on opposite sides of the bed, I tried to apologize. I found her in the kitchen and said, "Look, I'm sorry that the photo made you feel bad. I thought it was a start." She just looked at me with cold, tired eyes. "No, you're not," she said. "You're not sorry you took the photo. You're not sorry you won't delete it. You're just sorry that I'm upset about it because it's inconvenient for you."
And I had no response, because on some level, she was right. She now brings it up in small, exquisitely cutting ways. A few weeks after the fight, we were watching a movie and a famously beautiful actress came on screen, all perfect teeth and windswept hair. Jenna turned to me, her face a mask of saccharine sweet innocence, and said, "I bet you could take a stunning photo of her, couldn't you, honey?" The word stunning was now a weapon. It was a little shard of glass that she could pull out at any time to poke at me, to remind me of my crime, to remind me that I had failed her in a fundamental way. A month later, we were at her parents' house for Sunday dinner. Kate was there, looking as lovely and unconcerned as ever. She pulled me aside in the kitchen while I was getting a beer from the fridge. "Hey," she said, her smile warm and genuine. "I just wanted to say thanks again for that picture. My friends were all freaking out, saying it's the best photo anyone's ever taken of me. Tom wants to get a big canvas print of it for our living room." I felt a hot flush of guilt and shame creep up my neck. I stammered something about good lighting and lucky timing. I glanced over her shoulder and my heart sank into my shoes. Jenna was standing in the doorway to the dining room, her face like stone, her eyes holding an expression of cold, hard judgment. She had heard everything. She turned without a word and walked away, leaving me standing there feeling like a traitor. The worst part, the part that keeps me up at night, turning these events over and over in my mind, is that I think this entire incident has planted a seed of doubt in her mind that I can't seem to root out. I keep wondering if she actually believes in her heart of hearts that I am secretly attracted to her sister. I'm not. I love my wife. I have always seen Kate as just that, my wife's younger sister, a friend, a part of my family. But now, because of this one single photograph, my every interaction with Kate feels like it's being performed on a brightly lit stage with Jenna as the sole critical judge in the audience. If I laugh too hard at one of her jokes, if I offer to help her carry something heavy to her car, even if I stand next to her for too long while talking, I can feel Jenna's eyes on me. Her silence is louder, more damning than any spoken accusation could ever be. One night, unable to sleep, I did something I regret. I went to my office and turned on my computer. I went through years of my archives, thousands upon thousands of photos, looking for it. Looking for the evidence that I was right, that I wasn't a neglectful husband. I was looking for a photo of Jenna that was as technically and emotionally perfect as the one of Kate. I scrolled for hours, my heart sinking with every folder I opened. I found hundreds of beautiful photos of my wife. Photos of her smiling, laughing, sleeping, being silly, being thoughtful. Photos I cherished. But I couldn't find one, not one that had that same magical combination of perfect light, perfect expression, and perfect composition. Not one that I could honestly call stunning in that same artistic sense. And in the quiet of my office at 3 a.m., I was forced to confront the terrible possibility that she was right. I had never captured her in the same way. And I couldn't figure out if that was because the opportunity had never arisen or because I had never looked hard enough for it. A few weeks ago, there was another family get-together. It was a first birthday party for my nephew. As we were getting ready to leave our house, I instinctively reached for my camera bag, which always sits by the front door. It's muscle memory at this point. And then I stopped. My hand hovered over the worn leather strap. I looked at the bag, and then I looked up and saw Jenna standing in the hallway, watching me with a wary, guarded expression. I saw the entire potential argument play out in my mind before it even started. I saw the tension that would hang over our entire day like a dark, heavy cloud. I saw the way she would scrutinize every single photo I took, looking for proof of some imagined betrayal, some new way I had failed her. So I dropped my hand, and I left the camera at home. And at the party, I felt like a phantom. I felt like I had a missing limb. I saw a dozen perfect, fleeting moments pass by, lost forever to the ether of time. I saw my nephew, his face covered in blue frosting, take his first wobbly, uncertain steps into his father's outstretched arms. I saw Jenna share a quiet, loving, tearful look with her mother, a moment of shared grandmotherly joy that was so beautiful it hurt to look at. I saw Kate chase her giggling daughter across the lawn, her own face alight with a laugh that was just as beautiful as the one that I had captured weeks before. They were beautiful, candid, real moments. The kind of moments I'd live to capture. The kind of moments that make up a life. And all I could do was stand there, empty-handed, and watch them disappear into the past. I haven't taken my camera to a family event since that day. My passion, the hobby that brought me so much joy and connection, the thing that Jenna once championed, now feels like a source of conflict, a weapon I'm not allowed to wield, a language I'm no longer allowed to speak. That one photograph, that 1/60th of a second of captured light, cracked something open in our marriage, a deep, dark well of insecurity and mistrust that I have no idea how to fix. And I'm left here, in the quiet, in the aftermath, constantly wondering if a single beautiful image is worth this quiet, aching, and ever-growing distance that now sits between my wife and me. I don't know the answer. All I know is that the joyful, familiar click of the shutter has been replaced by a heavy silence, and that silence is the loudest sound in my house.